So it looks like the screen, or not screen, the stream crashed. Tell me if it came back, because like, okay, got that I'm back. I don't know what just happened there. My internet, like OBS didn't even disconnect. So I don't know what just happened there. I think I'm gonna call that a Twitch thing, because according to OBS, there's 0 dropped frames. Why is there 0 dropped frames according to OBS? That's so weird. I mean, it doesn't, I didn't even get the disconnecting, reconnecting thing. Let me see if Twitch cut the stream in half, because I think it did, and that would really make me mad. Yep, it did. So annoying. Twitch cut the stream. Oh, I hate that so much. Makes it so much more work whenever I have to re-upload it. Alright. Well, that's annoying. Okay. But we will press on. So, for creating a bullet, we need to be able to somehow mark this as from the player, so I'm just going to go into Edit Script, and I'm going to expose this with Serialized Field. So now the projectile component lets us say that it's from the player. This will be a bullet. Let's get rid of... let's delete that. Open the prefab. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Let's mark that as from the player. I don't know why that's like that. Actually, I do. Let's delete this. Let's edit this in here. Yeah, there we go. That's better. We'll just delete that. Actually, no, let's not. Let's keep it. I'm not going to mess with it too much. Whoops. Don't flip. Let's just turn it red for now. That way we know it's from us. That is not a good red. That's a better red. Yeah, just that would be really bright. That'll work. Okay. And so now this is from the player, so this shouldn't hurt us, but it should hurt enemies. So let us mess with that really quick. So in the enemy component, well, in the unit component, let's re-add the debug.log for taking a hit. Debug.log, took hit. Okay. Let's re-add that, and then for the enemy component, I'm trying to think if the enemy itself needs to move. I think it does in order to actually take the hit. In that case, we can make the projectiles move instead. So the projectiles themselves, they're going to have some kind of initialize method, like we want to give them some kind of initial velocity or some kind of, we want to give them some velocity, but we want to set that up from the projectiles perspective. So what we'll do is we'll have a protected rigid body 2D. This will be the rigid body that it uses to move. And let's actually add the correct name convention here. Then we'll serialize this. What we'll say is we'll say public void initialize. Initialize? Not on server initialize. Initialize. There we go. So what we want to do with the initialize is we want to give this probably some kind of damage. And then we probably want to tell it to just start going forward. So we'll say rigid body.velocity equals vector transform. Well, actually, no. We want to give it a direction. Or actually, not really a direction. No, actually a direction. Well, I'm trying to think, because like, I'm trying to think if the eggs, because what we could do is we could say always move forward, but in that case, then whenever the chickens spawn the eggs, they need to be facing down technically, so that would reverse the sprite, and I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know, let's just do it. We'll just do it that way. We'll give it a speed though, because I wouldn't expect the projectile to know its own speed. So we'll give it some kind of speed. So we'll say transform.up times speed. And then we'll give it a field to store the damage. That's going to be an int, and we'll call this damage. Then we'll just say that damage is equal to damage, like that. And then instead of saying take hit 1, we'll just say take hit with damage. Okay. Then actually we can say is from player and pass that in too, because we will know that. let's say is from player is equal to that. Oh, whoops, not that. It's from player. That way we won't have to set it in here anymore. So that should be fine. And so what we'll do is in the player controller, what we want to do now is we want to have the player actually fire projectiles. So the way we're going to do that is with the instantiate method. So we'll say we'll have a protected void fire, and then we will need to store the actual thing that we want to instantiate. Or actually, let's do this a different way. Let's say if input.get mouse button down, and we'll say 0. So if we left click, what we want to do is we want to fire. So for every click we'll get to fire once. We can fix that later. So in here, what we need to do is we need to have a projectile component. So this is going to be the thing that we just fired because we want to initialize it. Then we're going to say that we're going to instantiate, and we need something to instantiate, so we need a game object original. So we're going to have a protected game object, or not game object, projectile component. And this is going to be the bullet prefab. I always prefix the word prefab if I intend to instantiate it. And then we're going to say serialize field. Then what we're going to do is we're going to instantiate the bullet prefab. And since we're referencing the projectile component here, we'll get back a projectile component. We could also have this be a game object and we'd have to find the projectile component, but I don't want to mess with it. So we'll say transform.position and quaternion.identity, because that'll be up from the player's perspective. So all this should be fine, and then we'll say projectile.initialize. So we'll say that it's going to do 1 damage, it's going to have a speed of 1, now give it a speed of 2, why not? And then we'll say that it is from the player. And so that way, we've initialized this. And all of that should work. So what we need to do now is we need to make sure that the bullet actually has a rigid body, because it's going to move with a rigid body. Whoops, need a rigid body 2D, that's what we need. And we need to make sure that the gravity scale is 0 and that the angular drag is 0, although technically it doesn't really need angular drag to be 0, but it is. And with that, we can actually take the rigid bodies off of the player and the enemy, but we won't worry about it too much. So we have our player component here that has the bullet prefab. We can take the bullet, put it up there. So now this should be able to hit the enemy if we did everything right. Let's see what happens. So if I click, the bullet does go up, it does not hit us, and it does hit the enemy. So now it can hit the enemy many times. Aha. So yeah, we get a hit thing there for it. So that's good. So a couple things we want to do now. We want to make it so that whenever we hit a unit, it takes damage, and then whenever its health reaches 0, it dies. So let us mess with that. So the way that you usually do that is you usually store a current health and a max health. In this case, I don't think it will ever heal, so it only makes sense to store the current health. So we'll say public int, is it going to be public now to be protected? Say protected int, and we'll say health, because we'll never store, or we'll never, what am I trying to say? We'll never be able to heal, that wouldn't make any sense. So we'll just say health minus equal to damage. Not game object, what? No, damage, yes, there we go. And so now we want to test if the health is less than 0. So we'll say if the health is less than, well, I guess not less than 0, we'll say less than 1. That way it's 0 or lower. If that's true, then we want to die, and so we'll just call die here. We need to create that actual method. So we'll say public void die, something like that. And then we do not want, we want to make sure that you can die only once. So we do want to say protected bool dead. We'll say is dead, because usually that's the way you do Boolean values. So we'll say is dead, And so what we want to do in the die method is we want to say if is dead, then we just return because we're already dead. There's no point in dying twice. Then after that we'll say is dead is equal to true. And the default behavior will just be game object, will destroy game object. That way when something dies, we'll just destroy ourselves. And that should make sense. That should work. So let's say the minimum health is 1, because that just makes sense. And so now I believe that the chicken will die whenever we shoot it, if I did that correctly. So let's shoot that. Yep, and it dies. Cool. So now we can, clone this many times and kill a bunch of enemies. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there we go. It's the real chicken invaders. Aha, okay. So now there's a couple things. So the first one is that we can get rid of these. Let me think a little bit. So I think there's a fire rate in the normal game. I think if you hold down the left click, you just fire like every once in a while. So let's work on that. So usually the way that I do that is I just store some kind of fire delay and then some kind of next fire time. There's got to be a more generic way to do that. I'm trying to think. Is there a generic way to do that? Huh. I'll have to experiment with that later. So the way that I do that, or what we want to do, is we want to say if input.get mouse button down and time.time greater than some, next fire time. So if that's true, if we fire, then we want to remember when we're allowed to fire next time. So if it's like a fire delay of 1 second, then we'd say that this is equal to time.time plus 1. So what we want to say is if we have the mouse button down and we're allowed to fire, then we actually want to do the firing. And we also want to set the next fire time. So the next fire time itself, since time.time is a float, this also needs to be a float. So say protected float, and then that'll be the next fire time. And then what we will do is we'll have for now we'll have it as a constant, but we'll probably change it based on the weapon later. We'll say protected constant float, and all constant does, it just means that there's one copy of it and that it can't be changed later, which it doesn't need to be changed later. So say fire delay is equal to, I don't know, half a second. And so now what we'll say is we'll say the time.time, whoops, say the time.time, well actually we'll do that in the fire itself. We'll say next fire time is equal to time.time plus fire delay. Oops. So now it isn't going to be get mouse button down, it's going to be get mouse button. Because we already have the limiting, so get mouse button down returns true only once every time we click the mouse button. So if we click it once or twice, we'd get 2 returns. This will return true for every frame that the mouse button is held down. And so that's why we want to do this. So this will say if we're holding the mouse button down and we're allowed to fire, then we do the fire. And then we update, we say, you're not allowed to fire for another half second. So if we do this and I click and hold, then we should be able to fire every half second. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so since we have that, a couple things we could do. Trying to think. Could either get the enemies spawning projectiles, which might be fun, or we could get the... Could either get the enemies spawning projectiles, or we could get the enemies spawning. I guess let's get them firing their projectiles first. So what we'll do is in the enemy component, it's a question of how to actually do this in a fair way. Because some games, what they'll do is they'll have each enemy have its own, track its own... Oh god, is it gonna die again? I Did it die again? If it died again, that's going to really make me mad. No, it seems to have not died again. Okay. That seems good. At least. But yeah, it did cut that stream. That's really annoying. Okay. Yeah, my little thing turned red for a second, so I had to make sure that it didn't drop. Alright. So some games, what they will do is they will have a timer for each enemy, and then other games will have some kind of global timer, and that global timer it'll basically make sure that you don't get overwhelmed. So I'm trying to think of how that's actually going to work. So I think what we'll do is we'll have the global timer. So we'll have some kind of enemy controller or enemy manager component. Sure, that'll work. And so the idea of this is that it's going to determine when the next enemy fires, but it'll also determine which enemy it is. So in this case, for the enemy component, we'll work on that first, and we'll just make sure that each enemy component can fire something. But then after that, we will have the actual manager decide when it actually fires. Maybe for the bosses, we'll do it a different way, but maybe not. I don't know. So what we can do is we can have let's say a public, say public void fire. And then what this will do is it will need to do a similar thing to what the player does, where it spawns a projectile. And actually, we could put all that behavior into the unit component. That might make more sense, right? Actually, yeah, let's move all of this over to the unit component. That'll just make more sense. Let's put this in here. Yeah, units can fire things, like most units can fire things. And let's say that this is a game object. We'll say projectile component. This will be the prefab, like that, and then we'll just put the prefab in here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. And so what we want to also do is we want to store the next fire time. So we'll just take this out of here, grab you, put you up here, grab you, and then put these two in here. Alright, so now the actual unit component stores the next fire time and the fire delay. Maybe we'll have the fire delay be a thing. Well, we'll deal with it later. What we'll do later is we'll pass in, or we'll have a weapon object that we put on the unit, but for now we're just going to ignore it. What we do want to do is we do want to reference the unit though. So we'll have protected unit component, let's say unit, then we'll have that as a serialized field. And so what we can do is we can say if input.getMouseButton, then we can just call the fire, or we'll call unit.fire. And we can get rid of this because we don't need it anymore. And then we'll pass in the bullet prefab. Yeah, it's basically all we did was just move the code from here into the unit. What this allows us to do is this allows us to reuse all that code for the enemy component. And we don't even need a public fire method here. All we need is a protected unit component. Well, actually, we do need the fire method, never mind. Call this unit, we will have serialized field. Then we'll have public void fire. So we'll just call unit.fire. And so we also need a projectile to pass in here. So we can say a protected projectile component, projectile. Then we'll say serialized field, and we'll just pass in the projectile here. All right. So the problem is going to be that the chickens are now going to fire upwards. So I don't know how we're gonna have to figure out how to deal with that, but let's first get them doing that. So in the enemy component itself, what I want to do is I want to say public or private void update. And all I want to do is just going to call fire every turn. And so because the unit component has like this implicit fire delay, it won't be able to fire every turn anyway. Oh, actually, there's a bug. What it is, yeah, this. So we have in initialize, we say is from player. This is now hard-coded to true. We want to actually pass that in. Or do we? No, we don't, because we already know. If we're the unit, we know if we are the player or not. So what we'll do is we'll say get component, player controller, or no, enemy component, because the enemies are guaranteed. So actually, let's say bool is player is equal to not get component enemy. So if we don't have an enemy component, then we're the player. Otherwise, we are. Otherwise, we aren't the player. So yeah, we'll just pass that in. And all this will do is this will just scan the object that we're currently on for an enemy component. We could store it, but meh, it's not that expensive to do. Okay. And so now we have the enemy itself, so we just put the unit component in here, and then the projectile is going to be the projectile here. Let's rename this to egg. Okay. So now these should fire up every turn, or every half second. Something has exploded. Huh. Projectile component does not have... we don't have a rigid body on this, so we need to add the rigid body 2D. Need to say 0 and 0. Okay. Then we'll add rigid body 2D up here. And I don't know why the fire delay did not work. Let's think about that. Why did that not work? Oh, because we don't check for it in here. So what we'll say is if time.time is less than the next fire time, then we just want to return. Basically, it means that we're reloading. So yeah, we'll just have the enemy component, or not the enemy, but the unit component figure that out. Okay. There we go. So now, you can see that the enemy is firing, but they're firing up. So we need to actually either give the projectile a direction or, well, we can give it a rotation actually. So in fire, we can pass in a rotation. This will be the rotation. So rather than using quaternion.identity, we'll just use rotation here. And so this will mean that in the player controller, when we want to actually fire, we need to give it a rotation. So we'll just say quaternion.identity, because that'll be fine for the player. And I'm curious if you can do minus quaternion.identity. Is that a thing? And furthermore, if I do that, will that cause it to go down? So you can do, no, you can't do that. Okay. I didn't think you could. That's fair. So we'll say quaternion.Euler. This will let us express a quaternion in terms of the 3D rotations. So so a quaternion is a 4-dimensional object. It's very complicated. The idea is that it's a 4-dimensional sphere projected into 3-dimensional space. Again, extremely complicated, very hard to use. If you know how to use them, they're really efficient. But there's good reasons to use them for rotation, but we're not going to mess with them. So we'll just do it at 180 degrees. And that should, or in the z-axis is what I'm trying to say. And that should cause us to point down in terms of the enemy. So yeah, let's check that out. So now the enemy should fire downwards pretty quickly. Yeah, there we go, perfect. So now, ooh, object reference not set to an instance of an object. What is that? Oh right, because in the player we didn't actually reference the unit component. Right. So yeah, it has an empty unit component reference. Alright. That's fine. So now, I don't know why it's firing so much faster than we are. Oh, but you can see we do get destroyed whenever we get hit, so that's fun. So why is it firing faster than us? I guess it's not. It just looks like it's a different speed. Yeah, okay. Happy about that. So what we can do is with the enemy component now, or with the enemy manager component now, what we want to do is we want this to determine which enemy fires every turn. So that way we can make it a little bit more fair for the player. So in the enemy component, in update, we just try to fire. We're going to get rid of that. And so in the enemy manager component, what we will do is we will do private void update. And so let me think about this. All right, so in update, what we want to do is we want to store like the next fire time. So like this will be the next time an enemy fires something. So say this is a protected float, since we're going to compare it against time. This will be the next fire time. And so what we're going to say is if time.time is less than, or we'll say, yeah, less than the next fire time, then we're just going to return because we don't want to do anything. And we might do other stuff later, but this will be what we do now. Then we will say, otherwise, this means that it is time for us to fire. So we'll say next fire time is equal to time.time plus random.range. I don't know, we'll say that it fires once every, I don't know, 1 to 2 seconds. That should give it some randomness. Hey, Grumpy Game Dev, how's it going? I am just working on a clone of Chicken Invaders, because I absolutely love the game and someone asked me to clone it. If you've never seen it, it's like Space Invaders, but it's pretty funny. It goes, yeah, I know the feeling. That's how life is sometimes, it just goes. But yeah, we're working on a clone of this. It's kind of fun. I love this game so much. It's like one of my favorites. But yeah. How did you get through all of the games from, what's it called? The Dungeon Crawler Jam? Because I know you said you were going to stream them and rate them. Did you get through all of them or no? Okay, so we have our next fire time. Reviewed 27 so far. Okay. Weren't there like 80 something? I think there's 85. Is that still correct? Yes, there are 85. Okay. And there are 5 days left. There's 85. Okay. Whenever you're done, well, actually, have you seen any so far that are like super standout that you'd like, that you would recommend someone play? Because like some of them I saw were pretty good. Just want to know, have you seen any that you really enjoyed? Personal favorites? Do you have any that you'd recommend? Because, I mean, I could go through and play, like, well, yeah, but, I mean, I don't know. I just don't want to go through and try to play all 85 to find, like, good ones. Hey, Omar has, wait, Omar. Are you, oh no, Omar. I like the mall is a maze. Because it's a very different take. Oh, okay, so it's probably, oh yeah, Amhotep, yeah, because it's done well with an interesting mechanic. Yeah, the Amhotep one, where you can like crawl on the walls, that's really cool. And also just the meme for it being a dungeon crawler, I think that's kind of funny. I didn't get that, someone in chat had to point that out to me. That's how like thick-skulled I am. But hey, Omar, hey Omar, have you watched the channel before? Because I know that there is an Omar that has watched the channel, but I don't know. I think it's a different name. So, but hi, how's it going? I'm trying to work on a clone of Chicken Invaders. Yeah, the mall is. What is it? The mall is a maze. The mall. It hasn't loaded. Mall. Nope. No, no. Oh, there we go. The mall is a maze. Ah, okay. Oh, that's a downloadable though. Okay. Okay. I'll have to check that out. That's an interesting idea. Omar, but I see you have 49, 50. Well, unlock emotes. Oh my god. Do unlock emotes I just made. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Alright. Yeah, that's really cool. Let's see. So I don't know if does it unlock emotes or do I have to also... I thought I had to have some streaming thing, but yeah, thank you for making the account for that. And this one is my favorite yesterday because it's theme. Oh yeah, the oh god, what's it called? Yeah, the crazy... Hang on. I think this is the one that I like too. Oh, the cat one. Yeah, the cat one I didn't get. Oh, 50 unlocks emotes. Okay. Cats and cultists. Yeah, I thought the theme for that one was cool, but I couldn't I just couldn't, I don't know, I couldn't understand it. Yeah, like I tried to play it and I couldn't really get into it. I like the theme though, like it's a really good theme. It's just, I think the major issue that I had with it was the map. Like I couldn't, I don't know, it just like the lack of turning, but the map, it just, I don't know. I think if it had, I think if it had animated turning and stuff, I'd probably do it. I like the black and white Arkham one. The Arkham one, the like the Cthulhu one, where you like choose spells and stuff. I thought that one was really cool too. Like I think that one, I wish that one was more developed because that one was really good. I'm trying to think. The Pages of Arkham, yeah. But yeah, okay. So Omar, so yeah, I have to check out Super Dan's as well. But yeah, so Omar, we're actually trying to make, or we're making a clone of Chicken Invaders. Chicken Invaders 2. So I'm going for Chicken, so Omar, I'm going for Chicken Invaders 2 because the first thing is that all of these entries. Oh, okay, yeah, that's the entries page. Yeah, I like the Arkham Pages one as well. Yeah, this is what we're doing, Omar. We're going to try to make a clone of Chicken Invaders 2 because I think the UI for this one is a little bit stronger, and also the mechanics are a little bit more developed and stuff. The original is really slow, unfortunately, like Chicken Invaders 1. It's really cool, but it's really slow, unfortunately. It has something to do with like DirectX and whatnot. Apparently in Windows 8 Plus, DirectX stuff gets like emulated or something, and it causes it to be real. Or DirectX 7 and below gets like really emulated, and it's super duper slow. I tried some stuff to make it better, but it doesn't really. Oh, the original Omar is back again. Hey, original Omar. Your evil, well, maybe not evil, but your twin brother was here a minute ago. Or twin clone, I guess. Clone, your clone was here a minute ago. Yes, that'll work. But anyway, so after we set our next fire time, but yeah, okay. Your alleged evil twin, yeah. Well, I was about to say that he was evil, but I'm like, well, actually, I don't know if he's evil. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if you're gonna say, I don't know if he's evil, but he was definitely your twin because you two have the same name and you look alike, or at least you look alike in my chat. I don't know. But anyway, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try, instead of having each enemy determine when it fires, we're gonna have some kind of manager object do that. I generally don't like this pattern, but I think it'll actually work better here. So we do. That was my account, yeah. So we'll check, so first thing we do is if the time is less than the next fire time, then we will return. Yeah, if the time is less than the next fire time, that means that we haven't reached the point where we can fire yet. We'll just return, then we'll update the fire time. And then what we want to do is we want to find basically an enemy. What am I supposed to do in that game? What is the objective? Which game are you talking about, Omar? Because there's a couple. I think there's the, yeah, cat one, cat cultists, and then there's also Pages of Arkham. Other entries are dungeon crawlers, and you crawl the dungeons to fight enemies. Yeah. So all of them were made in about 7 days. So some of them have objectives, some of them don't. But yeah, I think they're all pretty good for games that were made in 7 days. Like I didn't see any that were, bad. And sometimes in game jams you get varying qualities of games, and sometimes you just get ones that are like, ugh. But I don't know, this time, like I've been surprised at how the quality of game jam games has been increasing. It's been pretty good. Been a few broken or not meeting the requirements. Ah, okay. I deleted all of my stuff. Oh yeah, you deleted your Visual Studio and all that and had to try to reinstall it. Did you ever get that working or no? So if the time is less than the next fire time, so yeah, okay, we have this working. So if we're in here, this means that we need to choose an enemy that's going to fire. So I think what we can do is we can store that. Code is fine. I thought everything will delete it, but the code is fine. Yeah, so if you, as long as the actual, let me try to show it. Where is it? Let me open this in an Explorer. Oh, not like that. Okay, yeah, actually that's okay. There have been a few that use RPG Maker MV. Oh, wow. Which so far has always meant you will fight rats. Yeah, RPG Maker. The thing about RPG Maker is that you can do some like really crazy stuff with it if you know JavaScript. But most of the people who use RPG Maker MV use it because they don't know JavaScript. So it ends up being pretty and now I need a story for a game. Yeah. But anyway, Omar, as long as these .cs files are preserved, everything is fine. It's just this like assembly thing can be destroyed. Yeah, they are rather samey. Yeah, the RPG Maker MV, the problem is that people don't customize them very much. But then there are games like, let me look at, I think it's Last Dream. No, Last Dream World Unknown. Like if you want an example of like a really, really good RPG Maker game, Last Dream World Unknown is a really good one. It has a bunch of crazy stuff. There's like even a tactical battle place, like where like you have your like tactical battle stuff. You can do amazing things with it, but like all amazing things, yeah, exactly. I think Arafel was actually made in RPG Maker as well. I think this is also an RPG Maker game. It's also like a fantastic RPG game. But yeah, just really good examples of it. But yeah, you're right. It takes a lot of work, and unfortunately RPG Maker is one of those things that it does a lot of work for people, so it sort of disincentivizes them to do work. Let's say you're in your house, 2 thieves entered your house, and you have 2 options. Then those 2 options, I need 2 options. Teacher in the lecture said that think a story. I think a lot, but I can't make a story. You can always, so with stories you can always sort of, I don't know, copy like, you can take like the structure of a pre-existing story and then re-theme it or something. But I don't know, it sounds like what you're doing is like an open world or like a conversation tree kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, like for me as well, generating stories has always been difficult. Like never been very good at it. So what we need to do is we need to say find objects. So we want to find basically all the enemies and make one of them fire. So we're going to say find objects of type, and then we're going to find enemy components, something like that. I don't know why that was causing next fire time to screw up. That was weird. Yeah, this unfortunately returns an array. I don't like arrays, so we're going to use system collections generic here. And I think we can do toList with this. No, we can't. Okay. So what we could do, one of the things we could do, is we could say new list of enemy components. So lists in C# are basically arrays. They are just much better in basically every way. It might be a little slower. Oh, whoops, not like this though. It might be a little slower. I don't know. I've never actually done the testing. But yeah, so we have stuff like this. We could do this, or we can import system.link. And by import, I mean using. We can say using system.link. Rather than having to type all of this nonsense, what we can do is we can just say .toList. So much better. And then we can say that we want to store this in a list of enemy components. So these will be the current enemies on the screen. And so what we can do is we can say if enemies.count is equal to 0, then we return. This basically means that there are no enemies on the screen, so we don't really want to do anything. And so then what we can do is otherwise, if we get to this point, then that means that there are enemies. Not a var guy, so Grumpy Game Dev. So normally I do use var, like in my own stuff. I love var. It's like the best thing that has ever happened to, I would say, not object-oriented, but it's like one of the better features of C# and now Java, but nobody uses it in Java. Yeah, this is more, well, it's a more beginner-focused thing. Yeah, so that's why I'm not using it. That's also why type inferencing. Yeah. But yeah, normally I use var. I use var and link way too much. That's why I had to explain the whole link thing as opposed to just doing it. That's why I explained it so heavily and why I explained what this returns and all that stuff. Because I'm trying to get better at the whole explaining thing. So Omar, no, it's not an open world. It's like you're in situations and you have two options. You can pick one. You will have you will be a step up, but there are, in another situation, you have two more options. Yeah, so it's kind of like a dead, game over, or win. It's like a choose your own adventure kind of thing is what it sounds like. I'm not at var now, but I don't get it, and the first time I watched that var again. So all var does, Omar? Yeah, okay, so yeah, it's like a chooser. Yeah, interactive fiction. Yeah, Grumpy Game Dev has it right. I hope I'm doing a good job at the explaining. It's one of the things that I personally am very bad at, and I'm trying to get better at it. But I do tend to think like 10 steps in advance. I'm trying to stop doing that. But yeah, so Omar, all var does is to see how we've typed out this list of enemy component here. What we can do is we can just replace, so basically this tells us the type of the local variable and then the name of it, and then this is the value. And so var, all it does is we just type var here. And so var will figure out that this is a list of enemy components for us. And so now we can just hover over it and it'll tell you, hey, this is a system collections generic list, and then T is enemy component. So that's all var really does. How to get good at anything, spend time explaining things, but being bad at it. Yeah, exactly. Or really, how to get good at anything. Yeah, I agree, Grumpy Game Dev, or Grumpy Game Dev. So that's why I kind of split my streams in half. So I have like the more, like the Remaking A Game ones where we do like more tutorial-y kind of stuff, and then we have like the later one where we do more advanced kind of stuff. And that's where I don't explain var or anything, or I at least try to a little bit, but. Yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm doing a good job at it because, you know, the other part of learning anything is also getting feedback, and it's like it's hard to find people who will give me honest feedback. You know what I mean? But yeah, Omar, that's all var does. In like JavaScript or something, it's like dynamically typed, but in this one, it's statically typed. So you know, you could say like var number equals 0. Hey, Zaysha. Without feedback, you don't have a good assessment. Yeah, exactly. So now you unlocked emotes. Now you know what that means. So, okay, yeah, I gotta figure out, how do the emotes work? I gotta figure all that out, because I don't know how that works. But I think it means that someone can make emotes for me. But yeah, hey, Zaysha. How are you doing today? So what we can do. So one thing I don't know, one thing I've always wondered is, or one thing I've always wanted, I guess, is to choose, or to have like a list extension that chooses like a random entry. And I don't know if I don't know why no one has ever done that. Like, it seems like the kind of thing that you'd want to do often enough that it would be included in like the random. Oh, you can activate channel points and emotes and all stuff like that. Can I activate channel points? Let me see if I can do that. Let me double check. Yeah, I'm pretty good. It's Friday, so I'm happy about that. So I do have a notification. Nope, that's not it. What is this? Oh, so they did unlock something. So 50 followers. Okay. How do I do this? Did you become affiliate? I don't know. I don't think so. So I think, so as far as I see, it's still showing that the path to affiliate thing is not done. So Grumpy, do I need to actually be affiliate to unlock that stuff, or is it just 50 followers? So let me even check my channel. So it does show 50 followers here, but the Twitch thing hasn't updated. So you have to put in tax info, really? Okay. And a particular average viewers. Okay. I have to put in tax info, that's interesting. For affiliate? Oh, okay, I guess because affiliate would let you do that, okay. Yeah, I don't know why Twitch is kind of weird. It doesn't, so for the, I've made dozens, dozens of dollars. Yeah, so for me, for whatever reason, oh yeah, for affiliate, okay. Yeah, what it shows, it's weird because it shows 49 out of 50 for followers. I don't know why it does that. Okay, do it all after the stream. Yeah, so what it shows the average viewers isn't quite high enough. Everything else is working, but the average viewers just isn't high enough. Yeah, Omar, so it's 50 followers. It's stream for 8 hours, stream 7 different days, cover all of those, but the average viewers isn't quite there. So that's the issue. They pay out when there's more than 100 in the shoot. At the time when payouts happen, been paid a total of twice in a couple years. Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, Omar, it looks like for whatever reason, Twitch, I don't know, Twitch seems to believe that there's only 49 followers. I don't know why Twitch thinks that, but it does. It's being weird. Does that want, it wants a total of 3, I think. So I'm trying to put this at the right thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to, oh, is the other one a bot? It's possible that I have a couple bots following me. I don't know. I've never done anything with the bots. Like, anytime they come into my chat, I always ban them. But I do know that some of the bots do watch the stream, because I do recognize some of these bots, or some of the things that are viewing the stream now are bots, I think. Or at least some of the users in chat I know are bots. I don't know if they're actually watching the stream. I just know that the bots do connect to the chat every once in a while for no reason. But yeah, so this is what it shows me right now. It only shows me 49 followers. I don't know why this doesn't seem to update. But yeah. Oh. I don't know. It's possible that one of the accounts that's following this one is like an alternate and it knows that. Oh. Yeah, the bots are usually just in the IRC. Yeah, I think you're right, Zaysha. But yeah, I noticed that whenever I was building like a Twitch bot of my own, like it was reading connections from a bunch of other bots. I'm gonna make don't make Omar, don't do that. Don't make a bunch of other accounts. I think that that's against the TOS. Don't do that. I don't want you to get banned, and I don't want to get banned. So yeah, don't do that. But yeah, I think you're right, Zaysha. I think they just sort of sit there. But yeah, the thing with the average viewers is the problem is that it's averaged over all the times that I stream. So since I stream a ton of hours, the average, you needed a bunch of people to even it out. But yeah, I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, thank you for the extra follow, Omar. I don't know. I'll reach 50 eventually. No, yeah, but it's the same person. I think that the same person making multiple accounts is against TOS. I think that's not allowed. But I don't think so. So I put a mention on the dungeon crawl. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Grumpy. Is there a place where that's allowed or no? You said you put a mention. Oh, thank you. So in Game Jam streams. Zayshabot? Oh, that's cool. Yes, you can have many accounts, just don't abuse it. Yeah, you have been playing on and off and on. Okay. Yeah, I just didn't. The thing, thank you, Grumpy. Yeah, I didn't put this stream in there because I was like, I don't know. I should have put the one from a couple days ago, though. Yeah, that's cool, Zayshabot. Yeah, well, the thing that I was saying, Zaysha, is I don't think you can. I don't think it's allowed to have multiple accounts for the purposes of like giving another account followers. Like the bot is using the same email. Yeah. So I have a bot. I have a bot that I was working on as well for this stream. I just never turn it on, but it does do things. But yeah. But I think the thing that I was saying is I think it's not allowed to have multiple Twitch accounts for the purposes of like gaining extra followers on an account. I think that's like against terms of service. I mean, I think that's against terms of service. I hope it is. Because otherwise I've been doing this wrong. Say random dot range. Yeah, thank you for the mention, Grumpy Game Dev. Yeah, that's from abuse. Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to tell Omar not to do, because yeah, I don't want him to get banned, and I also don't want to get banned. At least if it's done excessively. Yeah. So for anyone who's watching this on Twitch, I am not condoning that my followers do this. I'm trying to tell them not to. Twitch do not play. Yeah, Twitch doesn't play. You're right, they don't. Probably nothing wrong with having your one alt with the same person. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's probably fine to do it like once or twice, but like, yeah, just don't. Yeah, again, I don't want you to get banned, Omar, and I don't want to get banned. Yeah, I just have to make it clear to Twitch that I'm not condoning this. Okay, so what this should do is this should give us a random enemy, or should cause a random enemy to fire once every 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, yeah, I guess I'm trying to think of what I'll do. Probably I'll stream games later, or some of the games from the jam later, and then I'll also stream some of my own stuff. But yeah, I've been trying to get better at the following stuff. It's 50, Twitch is high on something. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Omar. It's probably just that counter doesn't update immediately or something. I think Twitch is built. So someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Twitch is cut up into a bunch of microservices. I think that's true. Like I think they do the microservice thing pretty heavily. Like I think it's gotten to the point where, yeah, microservices. Yep. I think we both thought it at the same time. Yeah, I think Twitch has, I think it's cut up into a bunch of microservices, and so the result is that it's not unusual, yeah. I think it's like become a more more common thing where everybody like cuts everything up into a bunch of microservices, and so that's what it is. It's like it takes yeah, eventual consistency. Yep. Eventual consistency. Emphasis on eventual. It's pretty bad. I mean, at least it can be. I worked for a company that used a database that was one of those eventual consistency things, but it was like a very early version, and it was pretty bad. You know, it just they adopted the technology early, and it really ended up being kind of bad. Especially the version that they ended up picking, unfortunately. Like, they couldn't have known when they picked it, but it just ended up being a really, really bad version. Yeah, okay. So this makes the game a little bit more fair, because it, you know, it makes it so that the enemies fire at a consistent rate. Very interesting they picked that one. Okay. Now we need to make everything a little bit more, more tight. So we need a fire delay to be changed to maybe 0.25. I think that's about fair. So let's check that out. Why? I'm not, they are. So these are bullets. The red ones are from us. But so we're making, so Omar, we're making chicken invaders. Chicken invaders 2. Eventually we're gonna have chicken invaders too. You're supposed to be a rocket. Yeah. So I haven't got everything. I haven't got the final graphics working yet, obviously. Like, we're gonna change it, but I wanted the little red things to be kind of similar to these bullets. But yeah, obviously I'll make some better graphics for it later, but right now we're just trying to get the mechanics. So we have our own little, yeah, I see that with the egg rocket, but the rocket is firing eggs. Yeah, it's firing little, it's firing red versions of the eggs. Not acid invaders. It can be, you know, chickens on acid. I don't know. Maybe, trying to think of how we can get the LSD sort of theme going. Maybe that's like our secret weapon against the chickens. Like in this game, secret weapon against the chickens was a random spaceship out in the middle of nowhere. Here only only drugs is the, you know, only drugs are the ultimate weapon against chickens, right? Or maybe the I don't know, I'm trying to think. Maybe the chickens are the result of, you know, maybe it's just a normal alien invasion, but the hero has taken so much LSD or acid that they think the world is being invaded by chickens. I think that makes more sense, right? Yeah. Also, Grumpy Game Dev, I don't know if you're still in the chat, but I was going to tell you something you might be interested in looking at or watching is I made a game in Unity, but I didn't use any semicolons, and so you might want to check that out, check that stream out, because it is kind of funny how you can do it. But yeah, I don't know if you'd be interested in something like that, but it's kind of funny that you can do it. But yeah, I thought you might find that amusing. Was that game multiplayer too? People can play it at the same time. Yeah, the game is multiplayer. Was it all fluent interface? No, it was. Well, no, actually it wasn't. Because the thing is that I would have to write, if I were going to write a fluent interface, I'd have to still use semicolons in the return, right? No, it wasn't lambdas. There was a place where I did some lambdas, but there's actually a couple things you can do where you can avoid semicolons. So for instance, if you have, so for instance, in like an assignment, you got this on GitHub somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't, but I have it on stream. There's a stream from a couple days ago where I figured out how to do it. There's a couple things you can do with it. I'm trying to get the time together to make like a YouTube video of it because it's kind of funny. But yeah, I might put it on GitHub as well. Check out the VOD then. Yeah, you definitely should. It's kind of funny how we go through and figure out how to do it. But there's a couple little exploits you can use to do it. The only exception I made is that I put them in the import or in the using statements, and that's just because you can rephrase this mono behavior, like that. And so I'm like, there's no point in writing this all over the place. It just makes more sense to put it up here. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little thing I figured out how to do. I saw a video, I think it's from Naveen Labs, YouTube. See if I can go to YouTube. Oh my god, YouTube, work with me here. Java. Yeah, I really did. Well, actually, you can do this in Java too. And this is where I got the idea, is from Naveen Labs. He posted this video and how to print hello world with no semicolon. And then, yeah, basically. And then I was like, so I took like 30 minutes to figure out how you do that in Java, how you print hello world with no semicolon. And I'm like, how far can we take this joke? And then I ended up writing a version of FizzBuzz in Java, but I did it with like, no if statements, no mathematics at all, completely stateless, and with no semicolons. And then I'm like, I wonder if I could do something like this in Unity. And yeah, sure enough, you can make an entire game with no semicolons. So yeah, it's pretty funny. It really does just become completely unrecognizable. But yeah, it's really funny. Actually, hang on, let me just open that project up really quick and I'll show you a little bit of it so you don't have to watch me figure it out. Because I think I still have it. Yeah, let me just load it up really quick and I'll show you roughly how you do it. It's not super complicated, it's just pretty terrible. It's pretty funny. So just to prove that it works, we have this version of Snake. I don't know why it's running so quickly, but it is. But yeah, we can just, grab these little mushrooms and, get our tail segments and whatnot. And then if you run into a wall, it kills you and everything stops. You hit R and then you can reboot. And so what you end up doing, so there's a couple little tricks you can exploit. So for assignments, you can exploit if statements because they terminate a statement. So the first things first with assignments. So in this case, we're assigning movement.name. So we use the assignment here, and in C#, because this returns a value, you can compare it to something. So this is how you can do assignments, is you just exploit this because it terminates the statement with no semicolon. And then if you need to declare variables, so in this case, we need to declare movement as a transform, what we do is we throw it into a for each loop. And then on the right-hand side for the iteration, we just created a list literal, and then we assign the object as the only element of the list. That way the for each loop will unpack it for us. And that will also allow you to do an assignment with no semicolon. And so you can just completely abuse everything. Oh, it's so great. And so you can use the assignment thing to call methods as well, as long as they return a value. But for methods that don't return a value, so like Unity's application.quit and their load level don't return values. And so what we can do with that is we can use reflection because the method.invoke, it can't remember that it's a void method. And so what we can do is we can assign a method to an action inside of a list, and then we'll unpack it into this action. And then we can use action.method to short circuit the reflection. So we end up with a reflective version of the method. And then we can invoke it. It's just so god awful, but it works. Oh, it's so awful. But it absolutely works. And yeah, it's just a complete abuse. It's a fun experiment, but I'd rather tar and feather someone who tried to commit such a change. Oh no, it wasn't for the purposes of showing people how to code. Then I agree with you. Tar and feathering might be a little that might be a little on the lax side. I think the death penalty probably isn't enough for someone who tries to commit this. But yeah, it was really fun. This is mountain climbing because you can. Yeah, basically. I was like, how far can I go Like, if you master a language, you can just get rid of half the features, and you can still do stuff with it. It's really fun. Most people died of tar and feathering because they'd get infections. Yeah, but I think tarring and feathering is a little bit... Well, actually, okay, that might be fair. I mean, you know, maybe we keel haul them first, then we tar and feather them, and then we just let them sit there and die. Because that's roughly the punishment that would be required for someone who tried to write code that way. But yeah, I'm probably going to make like a video explaining it just for like future job interviews and stuff, where I can just say, this is the kind of skill that I have with this language. I don't need half the features. And splash them with lemon juice while they expire. Yeah, basically. Yeah, that was, I just, you know, I was like, you know, it's there, I might as well try to do it. I don't know, I think it was fun. But yeah, I was really hitting my head against the wall, trying to figure out the whole, like, calling void methods thing, and then I was like, oh yeah, reflection, that'll forget that it's a void method. Make them brush their teeth and rinse with orange juice? Yeah, exactly. That's what they do with their last meal. Their last meal is just orange juice, and then we make them brush their teeth afterwards. Or no, the other way around, right? Yeah, we'll make them brush their teeth, and then they rinse it with orange juice. Yeah, that'll work. But anyway, I think we have like all the basic mechanics working. Yeah. So now you gotta think, what else do we need? We need some spawn stuff. We also need, what else do we need? I'm trying to think, we need the UI for the scoring stuff. I can't think. Yeah. All right. What else did this game have? Let's look over at Chicken Invaders 2. Okay. Enemies need to move. So I think... I'm trying to remember if they moved in Chicken Invaders. I think some of them did, but I don't think the main ones did. I might be wrong, though. Invaders 2. Is this the entirety of it? I'm trying to look at, like, I'm trying to find, like, the beginning stuff. Oh, there's a full run, okay. Let's mute this. Yeah, okay. So we have this animation. We can do that with animations. We also need to animate this. Can do that. Okay. So in Classic Invasion, this is sort of what I'm modeling, right? Is that they do... Oh, I don't remember that. Okay, so they do move back and forth. Okay, they move back and forth in a pack is what happens. Okay, but they don't ever advance down. Okay. So here's the interesting thing. Does anybody notice anything weird about this video? Because I just noticed it and it's weird. Well, actually, no. This isn't. And so this is really Galaga. Yeah, basically. I guess it's like Galaga and no, I guess it is Galaga. Yeah, it is just Galaga. But it's called Chicken Invaders. Like, it was based on Space Invaders. So one thing that I'm noticing is the video, the viewport here. This looks like it's not, this doesn't look like 916. This looks like, yeah, I guess you're right. Galaga was kind of very similar to Space Invaders. This does have these sort of interludes, though, where it has like the, it has these interludes where it has kind of like the asteroids. It does look 4-3. Well, I mean, it looks... Oh, right, but 4-3, you're right, it is 4-3, never mind. I'm thinking... I don't know why I was thinking that the vertical axis would be bigger, but it's not. It's the horizontal one. Yeah, I think it is 4-3. But that's weird for a YouTube video, right? That's weird for a YouTube video, right? Like, it shouldn't be... Right? Like, isn't that weird? Is that a new feature of YouTube where it just has like the correct resolution? Because like that's weird. If you watch stuff that comes from VHS or SD, it supports both. Really? Oh wow, I didn't know that. How long has that been a thing? Like I've never seen a video appear like this. Like I just noticed that the frame was like the wrong size, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's no black bars on the side. Yeah, many very old YouTube videos are 4:3. Oh, really? Huh. I guess you're right, they would be, because that was the standard. Wow, I've never seen that. I've never noticed that. That's so weird. I don't know why I've never noticed that. Yeah, okay. So yeah, you're right, the enemies do move. Okay. So how do we do that? It's weird. It's like whenever you discover something and you're like, wait, it's been that way the whole time? You know, it's like that meme. It's like YouTube supports both aspect ratios, and then you have the person with the gun. It always has. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, I'm trying to think of how we can actually do that. So one way we could do it is that we could program in the move pattern to every single enemy, or we could have the enemy manager do that. Yeah, mind blown, basically, yeah. Because I'm like, wait, is that a new thing? Like I really never noticed that. But I think you're right. It wouldn't. The original videos would have been 4:3 because it was that long ago. Wow. I'm just not. I'm just so used to seeing things in 9:16 or yeah, 16:9, 16:9. Yeah. Group the enemies in a prefab. Yeah, we could do that too. The thing that I'm wondering is, if they're in a prefab though, how do we spawn the move the prefab? Yeah, I mean they could. So you could do something like that. I mean, it wouldn't even have to be a prefab. It could be a parent. We could just say enemies. We could just throw them all into here, and then we can move this. Could do that. I don't do Unity, basically speaking, in the scene graph terms. Yeah, okay. Yeah, many cameras back then were default 4:3 because it was normally on a TV shape. Has some kind of tailing end of that AR, that aspect ratio. It was kind of on the tailing end of that aspect ratio. Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense though, because I think the early YouTube videos would have either been some kind of screen grab, or they would have been from like a video camera. They wouldn't have been from a smartphone. But then whenever smartphones came along, that's when all like the 9:16 stuff probably came out. Actually, wait, were early smartphones 16:9 or were they also 4:3? No, you can have 4:3 smartphone. It would have had to be a 16:9. Maybe like a BlackBerry could have been a 4:3. But I think a default would have been a 16:9. But yeah, I think you're right, Grumpy. We could just put them all in like an enemies prefab. It depends on the phone. Yeah, I couldn't imagine like a 4:3 smartphone though. I could. Well, actually, no. No, right. Because I do remember my. Yeah, actually, you're right. VGA resolution is common. Yeah, actually, there were 4:3 smartphones, weren't there? I remember now. Many would crop, but I think the early ones with the keyboards are what I'm thinking. Oh my god. Smart phone with keyboard. The early ones with the keyboards, not the ones like this, but the ones closer to that. Oh my god, I remember now. Yeah, something like this. This probably would have been 4:3. Yeah, I remember because, yeah, like the girl that I was dating in high school, like very early on, she had one of these. That's why I remember it. But yeah, there was Blackberries, but then there was also, there was a non-Blackberry, but there was like a Samsung thing that looked similar to this. Yeah, I think Blackberries, you're right, they probably would have. And that's a Windows 5 mobile screen. Oh, it's HTC. Yeah, keyboard Windows Phone. But yeah, I think there was a version of this from Samsung. 'Cause yeah, I do remember that. There was like a blue version of it or something. Might have been closer to this. Yeah, Samsung. Yeah, it might have been this phone exactly that I remember. Wow, I do remember I remember the keyboard. That's what I remember. It was like this layout. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, this probably would have been like a 4.3 if I'm looking at that right. Wow, that's crazy. It's crazy to think how far we've come. Yeah, you're right. We could just put these all in like the parent. Then it's a question of pre-iPhone was a barely recognizable world. That was when Snake was getting really sweet to play. Yeah, the wasn't there like the Nokia version of Snake where it had like all the crazy stuff to it? Nokia Snake game had like all the crazy mazes and stuff like that. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't remember this. I remember this. I did not have this, but I remember seeing a lot of this. That's crazy. Yeah, I vaguely remember like the pre-iPhone world. Yeah, the question then comes if we can parent all of these and make them move as one unit. The question is, how do we do the spawning in all that crazy sort of, like all the crazy sort of spawning? Takes me back to high school. Yeah, yeah, basically. I think I was in middle school actually when that stuff came out, and so that's why I don't know too much about it. Is because like my friends, this was so long ago that my friends had like having a smartphone was like a thing. People were really impressed if you had one, especially in middle school. But that's why I don't know too much about it, is because in middle school I didn't pay too much attention to it. Like I had like a flip phone in middle school, and I think that was like towards the end of middle school too. Like that was when they were just becoming that mainstream. God, it's so long ago. But yeah, the question is, how do we do the spawning? So one of the ways that we could do it is we could have a bunch of objects that would serve as like a path. So we could have like spawn points up here or something. And then, so part of the question is, there's a lot of different things to spawn. So how do we do the spawning? I'm trying to think of how to do the spawning in a generic way that will be easy to extend later. So I guess what we could do, I played Galaga in the arcade in 1981. I was 7. Oh my god. I think I played Galaga when I was 7 as well, but it was not 1981. It was probably closer to like 2001. Yeah, 2001 I would have been like 6 or something. So it would have been like 2002-ish whenever I played Galaga. Yeah, I really loved Galaga is one of those games where I don't think I've ever met anyone who doesn't like it. It's like crazy. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about that game that just like sort of grabs people. And then there was also like it's also like an advanced version of Galaga as well. I think it was called like Galaga Enhancement. Is that what it was called? I can't remember. There was like an advanced version of Galaga that someone made at one point. Was there like a remastered version or advanced? Advanced? Like minigame shooting things is very satisfying. It was before satisfying was an overused word. Yeah, that's true. There was there's Galaxian. Maybe that's it. Galaxian, is that what it was? Possibly. It might have, you might be right. It might be Galaxian Enhancement. There was like a much better version of it, and it wasn't It's like a remastered version or something. Is there a remastered version somewhere? There are many Space Invader clones at the time. Yeah, the one that I'm thinking of, it was released later, but what it was whenever I was like a kid, whenever I was a kid, there was a thing that was released. I don't remember if it was a physical CD or if it wasn't one of those things that you plug into your computer, but it had like, there was like an advanced, it had like all the old games from, I think, Namco. Was it Namco that did Galaga? Or was it Galaxian that they did? So it was Galaga by Namco. But it had like all these Namco games, but then it had like an advanced version of them. So like it had Dig Dug on it, for instance, but it had like, it was this like really advanced version that had like a bunch of different levels and stuff. It was crazy. Enhanced. And they were called like, you know, Enhancement or something was the actual name of them. And geez, I can't remember what it was called. Yeah, it had stuff like Dig Dug, but it had, I think this might have been it. This might have been it? Oh my god, I can't remember anymore. It was like a boss battle or something. Whoops, boss battle. Does this, if I could see like a boss battle. Jeez. I think it's like Lost Forever, but yeah, it was pretty cool. There was like an enhanced version of it. This might have been, no. Darn. Oh well, I can't find it. It's sad too, because they added a whole bunch of stuff to all these games, and they made them like really crazy. But yeah. So like for instance in Galaga, like the enhanced version, what it would do... Oh, Arrangement. Was it called Arrangement? It might have been called Arrangement, actually. Was it called Arrangement? It might be. Yeah, it was like this, actually. Yeah, so it added like backgrounds and stuff and like just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But I remember Galaga specifically, what it would do is whenever you'd get like abducted, there were like different ships that you could be abducted by, and getting your ship back would give you different abilities and stuff like that. So you'd have like these crazy ships like this that you'd get to. Yeah, it was really cool. That's what I've been looking for, is this arrangement stuff. So like for instance, Dig Dug Arrangement. Dig Dug Arrangement. It had like, you know, it was more advanced, and it had like, it even had like boss battles and stuff like this. It was really cool. But anyway, it is about 1 o'clock, so I'm going to call it off for this stream. I'm going to call this stream here. We will continue work tomorrow on this in the early stream, so 11 a.m. US Texas will continue working on this. Later today, what we'll probably do for like the late stream is we will, what's it called, we'll work on the stuff for the Black and White Jam, and then we'll probably do some streaming of games from the Dungeon Crawler Game Jam. And so yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later.